I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be rejection. Too much pursuing is all it takes to get you rejected. I've got an email here from a viewer, and I got a quote that I want to read from St. Augustine. He that is jealous is not in love. And another one which I say a lot, which is by, I don't know if I'm saying this guy's name right, Thich Nhat Hanh, who's I think he's a Buddhist. He's pretty famous, actually. He says, you must love in such a way that the person you love feels free. And so what this guy has basically done here is that he's smothered this woman that he started dating by chasing and pursuing too much, when what happened was she actually initiated the original phone call that led to them going out. It's just that he did too much pursuing, not waiting for her to get back to him in a timely manner. When he didn't hear from her for a few days, then he reached out and called her again, which is always a no-no to do. Especially when you're dealing with a girl who's trying to get over a breakup and maybe it was a bad relationship prior to. It's like you've got to let women come to you at their own pace, because women fall in love slowly over time. But if you're pushing too hard, wanting to see the girl too much because you like her too much, you're too into her, you're more into her than she is into you, and you don't pay attention to that, what happens is you start over pursuing, and then she starts to feel like she's smothered, like she's being controlled, starts to feel like you're needy and clingy. Also that she'll lose her personal freedom, and that'll lead her to saying things such as, I've got a lot going on right now, I feel like I'm letting you down, it's due to where I'm at, I need time for myself, I've been unfair to you, you deserve so much more. So he says, hey Corey, I've watched a bunch of your YouTube videos and I've recently purchased your book. I wish I had done it so sooner. He says, however, the only reason I found your videos was because of a breakup, and prior to the unexpected breakup, I wasn't aware that I needed help or that I was doing anything wrong. Turns out I was wrong. Well, it's awesome of you to recognize that obviously what you were doing was not working, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So he says, here's a brief history of this girl and I. We worked together for several years and established a friendship over that time. I was actually in a relationship with another woman the whole entire time that we worked together, and she was in and out of a couple relationships herself in that time. He said, I always had a thing for her, but I wasn't going to cheat on my girlfriend. When she left our place of employment, we kept in touch through email once every couple of weeks. I broke up with my girlfriend of 5 years this past April, and I just wasn't happy anymore. Anyway, right before I told her about this development, she had emailed me saying she was dating one of her best friends now, and she wanted to get together for a double date. I told her about my breakup with my girlfriend and wished her all the best with her new guy, even though I still wanted her pretty bad. That's a great way. I mean, it's like when you think about it, it's like you didn't even realize, you're like, I want this girl, but hey, she's got a boyfriend and now I'm single. And then you're just like, hey, I broke up with my girlfriend, sorry, it's not going to happen. And so it's interesting the effect that it has. He says, she sent me a text in early September telling me she was moving to within 10 minutes of where I work and that we should get together. What a coinky dink. How convenient. And this is the first part where she starts to pursue you. She's starting to initiate something. Like I said, if a woman is chasing you, she's not going to dump you. And so it's important to keep that in mind. When a woman reaches out to you this way, you simply create a fun-filled romantic opportunity for sex to happen. Hang out, have fun, and hook up. Hang out, create a date, a definite date. Have fun when you're hanging out on your date. No serious subjects. Love is playful and fun after all. And then hook up. In other words, make a move. Go for the kiss. Kissing leads to heavy petting. Heavy petting leads to you being deep inside of her in your bedroom later, or her bedroom for that matter. He says, I of course jumped at the opportunity, and over dinner she told me about not being with the guy that she told me about in the summer anymore. Well, that tells me that more than likely you didn't even ask about the other boyfriend. You just met her out for dinner. Another smart move. Because who knows, if she was still kind of dating him, but she hadn't, or maybe she broke up with him and she was kind of hooking up with him, then it would make her feel awkward and guilty if you to say, hey, I thought you had a boyfriend. But instead, you assumed correctly. So you're doing everything right at this point, naturally. See, all guys know a certain percentage of what they need to do with women. It's just some guys know a little bit more than others. But when it comes to your knowledge gap and you come to a situation in a relationship or an interaction with a woman and you don't know what to do, and then fear takes over, it just becomes like a death spiral. Just like when a plane gets in a flat spin, the outcome is usually not very good. Because in a flat spin, what happens is usually people end up doing exactly what they need to do less of in order to get out of flat spin. But then you're spinning so fast, you either pass out or you can't take control of the stick of the plane, and then you end up driving the thing into the ground. That's what happened to JFK Jr. when he was flying his plane. He got disoriented. And I think he actually was pulling back on the stick, which what he really needed to do was to push down on the stick to get so the plane would dive and get some lift under the wings. Instead, he was pulling back and the plane was stalling, and so he got into a flat spin. And that's what happens. The guy gets in a fearful state. He's dating a girl, and then he becomes afraid, and that clouds everything. And then all of his interactions go from hanging out and having fun to, is this girl going to reject me? It's just a matter of time before she dumps me, and then they start acting that way, and then they start smothering and chasing and pursuing too much, and then she senses this, she starts to back up, and the more she backs up, the more he chases, just kind of like pulling back in the stick in a plane. It just causes the plane to stall more, and then you get in the death spiral, and the relationship ends, or the breakup happens. The let's just be friends speech comes into play. He says, when I walked her back to her place after dinner, I kissed her and we stood in the street making out for 2 hours before she eventually invited me up. Awesome. Good job. See, it's like you're just making out, having a good time. And then the woman, when things are going well, she usually will say, you want to come up for a few minutes? Or would you care to come up? You care to come up for a drink? That means all you have to do is not talk her out of sleeping with you at that point. He says, from this point on, I did most of the initiating, which I now understand is a mistake. However, I would never send consecutive texts or call consecutive times without hearing back from her. She'd wait sometimes up to 24 hours before texting back, and you should pay attention to that. He says, unless 4 or 5 days had passed. In other words, you text her, and then 4 to 5 days could go by. You don't hear from her, and then you text her again. And see, the thing is, that's where the power was flipping. You basically taught her that she could blow you off no matter what. You would keep chasing. You're giving your power away when you do that. When you don't wait for a girl to get back to you, it communicates that you're needy and clingy and insecure. He says October was great, November was great, and then the start of December was great. And every time we were together, we would do something fun and inevitably have sex. Hang out, have fun, and hook up. It's the whole purpose of the courtship, of the interaction. Two people sexually attracted to one another, hang out, have fun, and hook up together. That's the whole purpose of it. He says she'd always tell me she had a great time, and our last date was a baseball game in December. The picture's attached. She looks pretty hot, FYI. Good job, by the way, dude. He said we had fun, the team won, and we went to a party afterwards, and then went back to her place, had sex, woke up and had sex. That's awesome. Wake up with morning wood, you just roll over a poker with it. Put the hot dog between the buns. Usually she'll just reach down, grab, start moving around. She gets all wet, and then it's off to the races. Play ball. He says, then I left, never to see her again. I bet you probably when you walked out of there, you weren't thinking you'd never see her again. He says, after that, she started canceling dates without offering alternative dates to get together. When a woman does that, just say, hey, well, when she cancels a date, you said, hey, when you want to reschedule for? That's usually the best response. If she says, I don't know, I'm unsure, I got to check my schedule, just say, great, get back to me when you figure it out. And then you let her do that, because what that happens in that moment, it gives her the space to come back to you when she feels like it. Because after a few days, or maybe even a couple of weeks, she starts to wonder. She hasn't heard from you. She starts thinking about you again, and then she reaches out, and then you set the next date. That's why when you start pursuing like that, when she stops or she cancels, it's like I said, it's like you're in a flat spin in a plane. It just makes it worse and worse and worse. He says, when she canceled a date in early January, I told her to just let me know when she was available and tried to not text her. And he says, but I caved. and asked her what she was up to about 4 days later. Yeah, see, it's like, you totally communicated that, I'm sorry to put it this way, but you were a little bitch in that moment, and that's where things really started going sideways. It makes you look weak. It makes you look like you don't perceive yourself as a catch. This girl's canceling dates on you, and yet you're continuing to chase and pursue, and that enables her behavior. It communicates that it's okay to jerk you around and dick you around and blow you off, because no matter what, you're just going to keep coming back for more and more, and that communicates that you don't have any self-respect. And when you don't have any self-respect for yourself, a woman's not going to give you any, and when a woman doesn't have respect for you, she won't love you. He says, she told me we could do dinner next week, and then she sent me this long text. See, this is why you don't keep pursuing when a girl says she'll get back to you, because you'll end up getting one of these. She says, you've been so good to me, and I've known you for quite some time, and over the past few months, we've taken our relationship past being just friends. She says, I have to be honest, I have a lot going on right now. That's typical boilerplate rejection terminology. Not just with work, but my perspective on dating, being in a relationship, and everything that comes with it. I just feel like I'm letting you down all the time, and it really has got to do with where I'm at. Last year was really hard for me, letting go of my longest relationship to go back to school, and on the whim that a big career change was what I needed in my life. And keep in mind, as she goes on, this is not what's really the real reason why she's breaking up with you. What she says. She's just trying to be nice about it, not hurt your feelings. She says, meeting someone at school, finding out later in the year that that person had a girlfriend. In other words, these bad guys before you that were such dicks to her. But you were nice to her, and yet she's dumping you. So it's obviously, she still dated these guys even though they were lying to her. He says, in this summer, dating and losing one of my best friends, it's been a lot, and I hate bringing up past things. I'm not saying this to bother you, but I need to explain where my head is at. I'm not ready for anything serious. Truthfully, I'm not ready for anything, really, because all she really wanted to do was hang out, have fun, and hook up, and you complicated it by over-pursuing. He says, she says, when I think about it, I've realized what I need is time for myself. I know what a relationship takes, and I'm being selfish as I'm not even close to being in that mind space again. I feel like I have nothing to give and do recognize how unfair it is that I'm not able to give more. You should not be feeling on the outs. Translation, you should be feeling on the outs because you are. She says, I've been unfair to you and I feel awful for making you feel like I'm leaving you hanging all the time. In other words, she knows that she's not being cool by dicking you around and canceling dates. But at the end of the day, you keep asking for it because you keep pursuing instead of hanging back and letting her come to you when she says she wants you to give her some space. She says, I need some time for me right now to get back into a routine, to hopefully get back to school, get moving, and to let go of some things that I've been hanging on to. You mean a lot to me, obviously just not enough to want to stay with you. And I've gotten to a point where I need to let you be and enjoy so that you no longer are left hanging. You deserve so much more. I want to apologize because I'm sure you weren't expecting such a loaded monologue. Emotionally, I feel like everything is all hitting at once. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, I don't really need to go into too detail, but basically what happened is you pursued too much, and here's his admission of his guilt. He says, aside from too much pursuit on my part, I did nothing wrong. However, the way you went about it, and I've pointed these out throughout your email, is that you went wrong at key moments by pursuing too much, and you came off as needy and clingy and smothering. Therefore, she felt like she was going to lose her freedom, and that's why you got the typical boilerplate type of breakup letter that you got from her. And so all you need to do at this point is nothing. Wait to hear from her, and when she does, maybe you may never hear from her again, but if she does text you or reach out to you, just say, hey, great to hear from you. I'd love to see you. When are you free to get together? ? Send that in a text. Then she'll probably say, oh, I'm free on Tuesday or this or that. Make a definite date. And then say, hey, great, I'll talk to you then. I look forward to catching up. And then get off the phone. And then when you see her, hang out, have fun, hook up. Don't complicate things. If she brings up the past, say, let's just have fun together and not complicate things. Now come over here and kiss me right now. That's all you need to say to her. So if you want to book a session, the quickest way to get my help directly is to book a phone coaching session. You can do that by going to my website, click the products tab at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions. And I will talk to you soon.